Hello indie game fans, amid all the hustle and bustle of quote-unquote E3 season, there are of course games that fell through the cracks, who have a number of 1.0 releases, updates and even a surprise release or two that you can play right now. Let's begin with Prodigal Rock Polish, which is also version 1.5 of this game, which did get a new trailer as well, not exactly related, but is an action-adventure game that is worth a play. There are a whole bunch of quality of life improvements that were requested by the community, showing an active developer, where I was quite surprised to learn of this since the developer did mention they were more or less done with the game in the previous update. It is still a tremendously underrated title, so if you love this style of game and especially the Game Boy Color look, please pick this up if you have not. Wanna get weird? Boar Dome is a first-person simulator set in the near future where human life is perfect, but if you want to experience moments of humanity's imperfections, take the Boar Dome pill and go on a trip. I just love how indie developers give 0 Fs and make what they want to make, so take a walk on the wild side with this game.
The ship is taking major damage. Correct the course or activate emergency shields.
Okay team, let's go. Let's find out what happened here.
They say that fear leads to more fear.
This video is brought to you by Nemesis Distress, a first-person multiplayer horror first-person shooter that looks pretty intense, where you and your crew are working together to complete missions while looking out for horrendous aliens that will kill you. The developers made a special note of the sound design in this game, which is supposed to be authentic, and while you do have weapons, you are not the hunter but the prey, which of course leads to pretty tense situations. Of course, there might be a traitor among your crew as well, looking like Among Us crossed with Alien Isolation on steroids, so if you love this sort of multiplayer experience, be sure to get it via the link below. Developer and publisher Awaken Realms Digital is also doing something very interesting, since this is based on a physical board game titled Nemesis, but it's not a 1:1 digital version of that, having done something similar with Tainted Grail Conquest as well with great results, so I'm all in for this new way of innovation.
What is the biggest threat?
Get to the hibernation chamber. You're going nowhere.
You people are crazy. I'm getting the f*** out of here.
There was probably a spy among us. The self-destruction process has begun.
If every step might be your last, then why not make it count, huh?
A smaller game that you might have missed is Run Build Pew. Not the most exciting of names, but based on the general feedback, is worth a play. This is an action roguelite where bounty hunters are chasing after your ship, and you do have to upgrade and customize your ship from the parts that you find in order to fend off all enemies. The ability to build your ship module by module looks interesting, being similar but not as complex as something like Nimbata's The Space Drone Constructor, but add to that the roguelite structure and combat makes this an interesting entry. Speaking of roguelites, Replicator launched out of early access as well, a pixel art entry that looks and plays well, where you play as a galactic mercenary exploring a mysterious scientific complex. I guess what this game suffers from is that it is fairly generic, since we have seen so many other games like this, so if you're entering a crowded genre, being well made is not good enough, since there needs to be something unique or interesting about the game.
Danger. Emergency. All personnel must evacuate immediately. All personnel must evacuate immediately.
Another 1.0 release of interest is Space Beast Terror Fright, a roguelite first-person shooter that is also set on a spaceship, one that just so happens to be infested with space beasts, but luckily, you play as a marine with the firepower to deal with them. Your objective in each ship is similar: retrieve the valuable data cores and then overload the reactor core and escape, with upgrades within a run to keep things interesting. There is also co-op support for up to 4 players, where it is somewhere in between GTFO and Left 4 Dead in terms of difficulty, but the atmosphere and claustrophobic corridors are very well done indeed. Our third 1.0 release in a row is Tin Can from last month, a first-person survival game which might not have come across your radar. Rather than being set in a vast prehistoric land or underwater on an alien planet, you are instead just inside an escape pod but need to find a way to survive as oxygen levels plummet or radiation levels increase, where there are no meters or health bars to be concerned about, but the game uses real-life medical symptoms such as making you breathe faster when deprived of oxygen, and then vision will start to blur until you eventually black out. There is a handy-dandy manual in the pod that may help, so it's quite an interesting alternative to the endless survival games that we are used to.
Medusa escape pod. This is Rescue Unit 42. We're on our way. Hang in there.
Let's kick off the top 3 with A Dance of Fire and Ice Neo Cosmos, the first paid DLC to a very popular one-button rhythm game from 2019, where don't be fooled by the simple visuals, it is one of the most challenging games out there. This DLC adds 5 new worlds to the game with new mechanics and gimmicks, having difficulty similar to the latter half of the original, so if you love rhythm games, be sure to pick this up. A surprise release during the Wholesome Direct was Lumbearjack, a cleverly named game where you play as a bear with an axe to grind with human industry, wrecking shop and saving the environment. It is a puzzle game where you need to figure out what to chop in order to protect nature, looking wonderfully wholesome with the environmentalist theme. bear does have other outfits like a golfer shown in this trailer which adds new mechanics, but I do think it looks great as well. To be honest, I did think that the release trailer for Project Warlock 2 was a little strange since they opted to go all cinematic and artsy with the opening half, but don't be fooled, this is an all-action title worth a play. It is the sequel to a tremendously popular game from 2018, but thus far has not gotten the same reception, maybe showing why surprise releases are not a great idea, especially during the IGN Expo of all things, but it is also in early access, so perhaps people are waiting on this, but I do think that it has potential taking the #1 spot. For more first-person shooters, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.